Welcome to Therapy Unplugged, the podcast where two therapists offer insights to the real-life issues we all experience. We are your hosts, Sarah Benoit and Meaghan McCullough. Welcome back, listeners. As always, we love having you here. As we noted in our last episode, today is our last episode. We're going to be taking a hiatus, and we thought it only seemed fitting that our topic for today would be gratitude. So here I am with Meaghan. Hi, Meaghan.
Hi, Sarah.
Hopefully we can pull this one off since we've had an interesting start. So, so I thought it would probably be helpful to maybe define what gratitude is. And I think you and we're definitely on the same page, but I think your definition or the way you've worded it so far really encapsulates the essence of what we want to share today.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share that. Right. So it's not like I looked up the definition of gratitude. I think the way that I started thinking about our episode today was that I really just took a moment or two to reflect on, okay, well, what do I think gratitude is and how do I view it? What lens do I view it from? And what came to me was that I look at gratitude like a practice, like a life practice, almost similar to some of my other life practices, whether it's, meditation, um, those kind of things, because I really see gratitude as a way of life. Um, or you could also maybe say it's an approach to life that recognizes the the positive aspects of whether we're talking about, a person, an experience, a life circumstance, even an idea. Um, it's literally the quality of being thankful for those aspects.
Mhm.
And one thing I'll add, this isn't in my notes, but it's just coming to me now, is that gratitude doesn't mean that you're looking at life all the time through, like, these rose-colored glasses.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that you're not acknowledging or feeling or going through what you need to go through when things are tough. Um, but the way I see gratitude is that despite something being really hard, when you can still pull out certain aspects of a situation or maybe a person you're mad at or whatever it is that you can feel grateful for, I think that that is such a powerful tool to live your life and
Mhm.
to find, more joy in life, which is something that I know that we've talked about a lot throughout our podcast.
Yes, yes. And I think that's a really important point that you bring up as far as I think some people will say, well, if I'm expressing gratitude, like you said, it's the rose-colored glasses or it's all rainbows. And this is where I think it's important. You mentioned kind of that idea of a daily practice. And I think you can identify or define gratitude in two ways. So it's a character trait, and that is where I think the practice part comes in.
Mm.
And then there is the fact that it can be a state, like a state of mind or a mood. And that's the feeling part.
Mm.
And I think to your point, one of the things that and I can say I've experienced this as well as I share this with my clients, but I think one of the important things about gratitude is, if like you said, if it's a tough time or even if you're mad, can you and sometimes I will say, like, it's the silver lining part, but okay, out of, this shit sandwich, what can you take from this that's positive? And it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're, like, super happy and thinking,
Right.
"Oh, this is amazing." But I will say this, and I can tell you personally that if I'm angry or, I'm struggling and I sit down and I'm thinking, "Okay, what am I grateful for? Or what's the lesson, the positivity that I can take from this?" It doesn't mean I'm not still angry or I'm still not struggling, but it does take the edge off,
Mhm.
and it does soften those feelings, those maybe more difficult feelings, and I think that's something it can be very subtle, but I think that's one of the things that sometimes people miss because it's that black or white. It's, "Well, I'm happy or I'm mad. I'm grateful or I'm,
Right.
vengeful."
Yeah, I really like that, Sarah, and I like the word you use, "soften," right?
Mhm.
It can help gratitude can help to soften the experience that you might otherwise feel very kind of absorbed in a negative way. Um, so, yeah, I completely agree, and I really like that. One thing too, I'll just add, if it's okay, is that, this topic for our last episode was your idea, and I love it because talk about kind of like in real time, I can say that I am practicing even in this moment with you right
Mhm.
now and with our listeners, I am practicing this feeling of total gratitude that we even embarked on this adventure, right?
Right.
And, like, like, the skills we've learned or the skills I still have not learned, I can at least that, you know?
Yep.
Like, when was it? A couple episodes ago, I forgot either to turn on my
Yeah.
microphone or I was just talking without it, I don't know, right? But, there's so much to even in the moment just, like, feel grateful for,
Mhm.
even though we are stopping or taking this hiatus right now. So I love that this is our topic for today.
I do too, and I think that's a really it's very poignant to be able to say, like, in the moment, right? Because kinda going back to that definition, that state of gratitude is exactly what I'm feeling right now. Like, I
Mm,
feel full and I feel joyful, and I don't like the word happy because it doesn't seem to do it justice, but I feel, um, kinda complete and just
mm,
it's a very it's nice to be able to acknowledge that it's present along with, in live in the moment.
yes.
And I know even preparing for this, like, I know I sent you my notes really early because I needed to get this
Mhm,
done before Christmas, and
mhm,
I remember sitting in my office, and it was funny because I couldn't spell out exactly what I was grateful for, but the feeling was so intense, and
mm,
I was like, "This is gonna come to me, like, I'm not even worried about this." It was just like, even saying that right now, I just got chills.
mm,
Um, and I think, this is one of the things too, like, imagine and listeners, imagine when you can truly sit in that space of gratitude and think about how that benefits us. And not just us, but everyone around us, right? And I think you have choices when it comes to this. Do you wanna hold that inside? Do you wanna share that with other people? Um, I don't know if I think it's important to sometimes spell out for people, how does gratitude help us? Like, what if we're gonna sit down and actively or even passively practice gratitude, what is the reward for that? Um And I don't know, Megan, if you've got some ideas around that, like, how does what are the benefits, I guess, of
mm.
practicing gratitude?
Sure, I'd be happy to start, and, I think I've already kind of peppered in one of the big ones for me.
Mhm,
So, I think that, practicing gratitude is probably one of the if not the number one thing I can practice if I am trying to strengthen my emotional resilience. And
Mhm.
I know we've certainly talked about this before, this idea of resilience. And for me, I'm speaking of this emotional resilience that can just help you to better cope with whether it's day-to-day stressors, um, or maybe it's like a significant event that is causing major stress, a
Mhm.
death, a divorce, a loss, change of jobs, whatever. Um, s so if you are able to sit in the discomfort and still on some level be able to feel grateful for the things that are going well in your life.
Mhm.
Um, that is such an empowering tool to practice. So I would put that probably at the top of the list in terms
Mhm.
of benefit. I shouldn't say the top of the list, but it's definitely for me um, one of the top benefits.
And I agree with that. I think it was interesting because as you were talking, what it was reminding me of, I mean, I guess I phrased it this way in my head, was really being present and
Yes.
being grounded in the moment. And even us talking right now, I am so present. And I think it's embodying that idea of gratitude. And I think the other thing too is when you're present and you're grateful, you feel less stress. Again, doesn't mean stress is non-existent,
Right.
but you also have the opportunity, the longer you can allow yourself to be in that space, added benefits, depression is gonna decrease, anxiety is
Yes.
going to
Yes.
decrease. Um, and if you think about that, okay, well, what does anxiety and depression do to us physically? Everyone's different, but there's a whole host of ways that can
Mhm.
manifest.
Mhm.
So, I see this with a lot of people who have depression, the self-care aspect can
Mhm.
be really challenging.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking care of yourself, you know, how is your appetite? Are you eating well? Are you are you sleeping well? Um, your overall health, are you more susceptible to getting sick because you're not active or you're not taking good care?
Absolutely. Yeah, and maybe even just a slightly different way to put what you're saying right now is so some of the benefits of practicing gratitude are perhaps
Mhm.
your sleep improves.
Right.
Perhaps your, just sense of overall well-being can go up a notch.
Mhm.
Um, I know there's been a lot of studies on the connection between, like, eh, gratitude and our immune systems.
Mhm.
Right? Our immune systems can actually go up if we're constantly in this place of, um, like, nothing is going well in my life. Like, I can't find one thing to appreciate. I really do think that it makes sense to me if you align with the idea that, like, our bodies and our minds are connected,
Mhm.
that we might get more frequent colds, for example. I'm
Yes.
not saying with everybody, but just,
Right.
that's an example.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the other part of this, it's more broad, but this is what extends beyond ourselves, is that when we're practicing gratitude or we're allowing ourselves to be in that space, it really has the potential to improve our relationships.
Yeah,
We can feel and others can feel more connected to us and we feel more connected to them. Again, we're more present in the relationship. Um, I mean, I remember I don't this was our first season and I don't remember what we were discussing, but pardon me, it was I think the example I gave was this woman at the gym had offered me a coupon for something.
mhm.
And I made a point the next time I saw her to thank her for making my day, and, I
Yes.
remember saying here, I'm like, "Gosh, she might look at me like I have 10 heads, but I don't care." And it was important to me that I let her know, and it was important because for me, I really appreciated that. It was just something really small. She didn't have to do that, and I thought about, I think being, and I don't know if you experience this, but being a therapist, I mean, obviously, we hear all the hard stuff.
Mhm.
Sometimes, but not often, and I do have some clients who are very good about this. They make a point of saying how grateful they are for the work that they do with me and
Mhm.
all that. But when I hear gratitude coming from a client or a friend, it means the world to me. Even a stranger,
Mhm.
like, if it's something as simple as, like, I've held the door for somebody,
Yep.
and I remember thinking in that moment, I'm like, "That's part of why it's important for me to share this with her, because I don't know what she's going through, and everything could be fine or everything could be terrible, but I I need to, it's important that she know my appreciation for that little
Mhm.
gesture."
Oh, I love that, Sarah, and I'm curious, I know this is true for me, I'm curious if it's true for you or not. Would you say that gratitude can then be contagious? Or that's probably a crappy word to use, but right, like, gratitude can spread,
Yes. Oh,
if
for sure.
I love seeing that. It makes me think, you gave your example at the gym. I it's making me think about, a couple of years ago, I took my son, we took this vacation in Arizona, and we were staying at this resort, and it was a very nice resort. Not some not really the kind of environment we were completely used to, and I was in such a state of appreciation that I remember just every day, not I don't even know if I consciously did it, but I was really showing kindness and appreciation to all the people that worked there,
Mhm.
and it was amazing to me how, in some way, shape, or form, then they were like, showing their kindness back to me. Like, I remember what I had made friends with the woman at the front desk. She was just this lovely lady, and one day she saw me in the lobby, and she ran up to me, and she said, "I wanna give you these." And it was, like, probably, like, $30 worth of coupons to the coffee shop, you know? And now that's not why I was showing kindness at all. I
Right.
wasn't expecting that. But I think that she appreciated that I was taking the time to just show that kindness, and I kinda got the sense that that was unusual there.
Mm.
Like the guest versus the staff. I don't know. I just got this feeling like she and there were other people too, other staff members too that I had that kinda interaction with. So it gratitude can absolutely spread, and if you wanna, just you could try a little experiment, with your day. Like, you could set the intention that you're going to show somehow, some way, different expressions of gratitude, and then see if it comes back to you somehow.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about this, but the timing's pretty interesting, and I will not do the post justice, but I had, reposted on LinkedIn. Someone had talked about, there was their synopsis, but then, a visual, and it basically said, like, "I'm going to cheer you on and support you until," and that's not right. It was, it may not be my time, but until it is my time, I am going to cheer you on and support you and clap
Mm,
for you.
mm,
And I reposted that because what I loved about it was it's such a reciprocal thing, right? Like, sure, you're gonna
yes.
see all these people doing wonderful things, and maybe you feel like you aren't doing wonderful things right now, but that doesn't mean you aren't going to be, and by cheering them on, supporting them, it is
Mhm.
going to come back. They're going to
Yes.
remember, and even if they don't, it doesn't matter because you're putting good out there. And I think it really speaks to that idea of contagion, right? Like, okay, and I don't think we see enough of it in that, at least, and this is where I guess I'm a little jaded, where I think we see it, but I feel like I can tell when it's genuine and truly
Mhm.
heartfelt
Mhm.
versus I'm just checking the box and saying,
Yeah.
"Yeah, good job."
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay. Are there any other Do you think we missed anything in terms of the benefits of practicing gratitude?
I'm just going over my list, and I don't think so. I mean, now, that's not to say there aren't other benefits,
Right.
eh, but as far as my list goes, I think that covered it.
Okay. So I will say, and I don't know if you experience this in your practice, but for some people, they don't need to ask how to practice gratitude. They either
Mm,
are actively already doing it or,
yep.
but I do think some people come in and they're like a deer in the headlights
Mhm,
and they're like, they think of it more as like, well, who am I supposed to go thank? It's not about a
mhm,
thank you
mhm.
necessarily.
Right. Yes.
So, if someone were coming to you and did not have a clue as to
Mm.
how to start this practice, what would you offer up?
Yeah, great question, and the one that comes to my mind immediately, although there's a lot of different strategies or exercises you could implement, but, I definitely have talked to some clients a lot about this very simple practice, um, of you can call it whatever you want, a gratitude journal, but one of the simple ways that I might suggest to a client that they start to practice this is that I would I mean, you could do it at any time of day. I think I would maybe tend to do it at the end of the day. Um, but the idea is that you come up with 3 things that you can feel a sense of gratitude for that happened in that day. And it ca no, and I'm gonna add this, and some people may resist, but I don't no matter what kind of shit day you've had,
Mhm.
right? Like, and I have practiced this on my worst days, and it is so powerful.
Mhm.
And keep in mind too that I'm not talking about, like, huge things. Like, yeah, I found, $100 bill on the sidewalk. Well, yeah, okay. If you find $100 or whatever,
Yep.
$1,000, I don't know. Um, it's pretty easy probably in that moment to feel grateful for something like that.
Mhm.
But I think the real practice of gratitude can actually sometimes happen in those moments when we're feeling pretty low.
Yes.
Um, and so it can be a seemingly small thing, right? So if you've had a really bad day, um, you know, maybe it's something I'm just making this up, but maybe you've been experiencing headaches, but you woke up this morning and you were headache free,
Mhm.
right? Like that I can feel grateful for.
Yes.
It can be something as simple as, yeah, I stepped outside and this beautiful bird was singing. I think I've used that example
Mhm.
before, but and I took a moment to actually just be in the moment and listen to that bird song. Um, and it was absolutely amazing, right? And so the wonderful thing too about this practice is even if it initially seems hard, if you start doing it consistently where you're looking for things throughout the day that you can feel appreciation for, they start coming to you more and
They
more
do.
easily. Yeah.
Yes. And that's I like that point because, excuse me, one of the things that I will offer to people is it's really a grounding exercise and
Mhm.
a strategy to, maybe come out of a panic attack. But it's grounding yourself and using all of your senses. Like, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I feel to the touch? What do I smell? And the reason I suggest this to people is I say, I also want you to take note. So take note of, "Oh, I smell the salt air, and I love the salt air. I love the ocean."
Mhm.
The more grounded we are and we're kind of slowing down and taking note allows us to be open to gratitude. And, one of the things, like you mentioned, the gratitude journal, that's something that I recommend too. I think also if you're able, it depends on everyone's family system. But what we've done here at home, and I think I've said this in previous episodes, is like every night at dinner, we start dinner with best and worst. And if
Mm.
it's a really bad day or if the worst is obvious, like, we don't even go there. We just stay with the bad because there's no reason to even acknowledge, like, we've lived it, we don't need to repeat it. But it's really interesting because sometimes Sean and I are on task, like, we are "Yep, that was my best too, that was my best too," and some
Mm.
way off. Like his
Yeah.
and but it's interesting because then we can talk about it, which I think solidifies the best parts even more. And so and I know that I've suggested this to families, especially I know that one of the things that has gone by the wayside for a lot of families is like a family dinner.
Yeah.
So even if you have maybe it's a Sunday dinner together, okay,
Mhm.
what are you talking about? What are you sharing?
Mhm.
'Cause I think that's part of gratitude, right, is sharing.
Yes.
And it's expressing that. So much like the girl at the gym or woman at the gym, it's are you letting people know? Are you saying, "I'm really thankful you did that," or "Thank you so much," or "I appreciate you," or, and even expressing that to ourselves because and I don't mean this in like a conceited way, but are you giving yourself credit? Are you really celebrating your
Mhm.
successes? Because we work hard to get through every day,
Mhm.
and is that something you're grateful for? I have friends that I'm like, "How are you doing?" They're like, "Hey, every day above ground is a good day." And
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think
Mhm.
you get the things you appreciate change. And, one of the things, like you mentioned, the headache, I am so grateful for my health. And like when I hate being sick,
Yep.
but if I get sick and as soon as that starts to shift and I start to feel better, I'm like, yes.
Yep.
and And that's again, everyone is different in what they're grateful
Mhm.
for, but I do think it's important to remind yourself and if you have the opportunity, even if it feels awkward or you feel like, "Oh, that's just mushy," let people know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so it's funny, I think you just mentioned, kind of 2 more strategies in one. So going back to, like, you and Sean taking
Mhm.
time, right, to really reflect. Yeah, I think I wrote it as, but I think we're talking about the same thing in my notes, as like a gratitude ritual, right? So
Yes.
you somehow start implementing with your family or even just with yourself individually,
Mhm.
um, rituals to just really, take the time, right, to reflect, to acknowledge on, what is going well. And, yeah, I think, like, families doing that, even if it's, like, maybe right, like, once a week. I'm not saying it has to be every day,
Right.
um, but that can be super powerful. And then, like, your woman at the gym, right, I have down as a strategy to practice the expression
Mm.
of appreciation, which can, I think, feel pretty uncomfortable for human beings. I think it's just
Yes.
I don't we're it's just the way we're made.
Mhm.
Uh, and it can be a verbal expression, absolutely. It doesn't have to be though.
Right.
Um, and another idea I had written down for practicing the expression of appreciation is I think there's a lot can be a lot of power in a handwritten note,
Mm.
especially in today's day and age of of technology. And again, this is just an idea, you don't have to do it, but just taking a moment
Yes.
to handwrite a message to somebody, um, expressing appreciation for their maybe just their very being, or maybe it's something that they did, that you appreciate, but, I think it can go a long way, and it can start to and then the process of the expression of appreciation starts to become easier and easier to do.
Yes. And you made me think of 2 things. One is, again, expression could be an act of kindness in the sense of, what is your love language? So, do you do things for other people? Do you, even what is your love language in terms of receiving? Because some people do not like the word part of it. They,
Yeah,
again, makes them uncomfortable. But if you go and you shovel the walk for them, oh my gosh, you
right,
did the best thing ever. So I
right.
think knowing yourself and knowing now you're not gonna know all your friends' love languages, but you are gonna hopefully know them well enough to know, like, this is gonna be important to them or they're really gonna love this.
Yes, yes.
The other thing that I was thinking about is, now I lost my train of thought, so I can't remember what I was gonna say. Um, oh, man. Well, hopefully that one comes back to me because I thought it was good.
I bet it'll come back if it's supposed to. I
Yeah.
can if you want, I can give you one other one,
Sure.
that I have on my list that I love, and it's something that I have definitely done personally. I don't have one right now, but I now that I'm saying this, I think for 2026, I'm gonna do this again. So, I have created you can call it whatever you want, but a gratitude jar,
Mhm.
and the idea is that and you can do a bunch of these little slips of paper to yourself at once, or you can do them over time, but I started collecting, um, just basically, like, things no matter how small or some of them were very big, um, things in the moment felt really grateful for or I
Mm.
appreciated, right? And so you just write one at a time, you write them on separate little slips of paper and you fold them up and you put them in this jar and you don't look at them until, let's say, a week down the road, you're really feeling low for
Mm.
whatever reason. You're having a really bad day, or maybe you're having a hard time feeling grateful about anything. So the way I do it is I just stick my hand in the jar and I just pick one and I pick up one slip of paper. And so it might be like about a really good day I had the summer before with my son, where I'm just making this up, where we had such a good like laugh,
Mhm.
or at something. Um, it could be something like really silly that my dog did, right? That like and so these little things that if I didn't write them down, some of them I'd probably just forget, you
Right.
know? But I pick up that little piece of paper, I unfold it, and I read it, and it's like I can practice being back there in that moment and saying, "Oh, yeah, I felt really good about this particular thing." Um, it's a fun thing to do,
Mhm.
and it can really, I think, boost that practice of deep appreciation and gratitude.
I like that. Pardon me, I like the idea of, in the moment, maybe it's powerful, but 2 days later, you might completely forget about it. And then
Right.
if 6 months later, you dig in that jar and you pull it up and you think, "Oh my gosh, I remember that. That was hilarious," or "That was amazing." And that is going to definitely lift your mood, and it brings back hopefully, a great memory or a great experience too. Even if it's something small, if it's like, "Hey, the first snowfall was beautiful," you know,
Exactly.
in March, you are not thinking that the snow is
Yep.
beautiful. You're ready for it to go.
Exactly. It's funny because 'cause I'm thinking right now about I'm like, "Oh, I know what my first slip of paper is going to be in my new jar."
Mhm,
So it's, and again, it's so small, but there was a moment, I do love the holidays, but I will also admit I think it can bring up a lot of stuff,
mhm.
a lot of emotional stuff, and I was having a moment, um, around Christmas, some hard feelings were coming up for me, and, my my son Elijah said, "Hey, can we give Finn, our dog, his Christmas present?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." My son gives my dog this present, and I don't know if every dog owner experiences this, but man, there is something about gift giving to my little knucklehead terrier that he absolutely goes bonkers over presents, but then specifically, especially like if it's a chewy toy or
Mhm.
something. And that dog was so elated by this $8 duck, I had found at, I think, Home Goods or something, I don't know, that he watching him play with this toy, it pulled me right out of whatever sadness or whatever it was I was
Mm.
experiencing in that moment. And so I wanna remember that. Because right now, this just it happened not that long ago, so I have this very clear vision of his tail, just like his tail was wagging like I have never seen it wag before. He running back and forth, throwing the duck up into the air, catching it, and so I wanna write it down, and
Mhm.
that's the first one that I'm going to put in my jar.
Love
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah.
great. It's speaking of dogs, one of the things that we haven't gotten to in terms of practicing gratitude, I had written down reframing experiences,
Mhm.
and one of the things that I've had to practice throughout, Remington's existence with us is I've had to reframe because his puppyhood has caused me so much anxiety just with everything he's been through. And
Mhm.
it's interesting, I went through this last night, as a matter of fact. So, pardon me. He loves to chew and suckle on his blanket. He goes through blankets like
Mhm.
there's no tomorrow. But he always chews on one side, and he's actually ground his teeth down, like, his canines.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm waiting to have to bring him to the dentist and get, like, canine caps. So and I have to catch myself because it's very easy for me to start to spiral and be like, "Oh my gosh, what if I do have to bring him to the dentist?" Or, blah, 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 blah. And so I reframe it and I say to myself, "Sarah, you are look at him. He's happy. He's
Right,
content.
right.
Is he being then he comes over and he headbutts me or whatever, and is he being fresh? Yeah, of course. But I reframe it as to, okay, what's going on in the moment and what am I grateful for? I'm grateful that he's healthy. I'm grateful that he's having fun, that he's goofy. And it's amazing because I also know myself, like it's very easy for me to go down those rabbit holes. And that immediately I do a 180 and
Mhm.
I may have that physical sensation of angst where I'm like I know it's still there, but my mind is definitely in a better place. So, I think that's the important piece here is if you have it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier in the episode where you might be going through it and it might feel terrible,
Mhm.
but is there something good that you can take from that and then focus on that? And I'm not a big proponent of comparison in the sense of like, well, you know, this person has it so much better or this person has it so much worse.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I do think if you have to gain perspective in some way,
Right.
then do what you have to do to make that happen that's realistic and not detrimental.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. It's the power of the reframe
Yeah,
is huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything on that in terms of, strategies? I mean, like you said, there's tons of strategies out there,
Mhm.
but I think this is a good, uh, kinda jumpstart for people. Do you think there's anything we missed?
Um, Not that I can think of. I mean, if any of our listeners, have any they wanna share with us, you can certainly, do that.
Mhm.
But no, I feel like this is probably a good segue
Okay.
into
Okay.
whatever else we're going to share in our last episode.
Well, I thought maybe it would be helpful, selfishly, I guess, to share what we are each grateful for.
Mhm.
And I think not just because obviously that's the topic of today's episode, but given the timing and that this is, we're wrapping things up, I can tell you one of the things that I'm really grateful for is the opportunity to have done this with you. And I
Likewise.
remember sitting at dinner thinking, "Hey, we should do a podcast." And
Yeah.
and kind of thinking like this is just it's gonna be out there and that's it. And then all of a sudden, yeah, we should. And here we are.
And here we are. Yeah, that's at the top of my list too in terms of, what I'm grateful for with regard to this podcast. And I know I've said it before. Uh, I think to you separately, and I think I might have even mentioned it in a podcast, but, one of the things I love, and that maybe I wasn't even expecting, is just the amount of time that the 2 of us have gotten to spend together.
Mhm.
And I think that it has, in my opinion, it has strengthened our relationship. Um, of course, professionally, because I think that we just really gel well
Yes.
professionally, even if we have different, areas that we're interested in or different approaches. I think that overall, right, we tend to be on the same page a
Mhm.
lot in a professional way, but also personally. I mean, I've always, it's not that I mean, I've always considered you since I've known you, like a good friend, but it's kind of like just allowed it to take it to like a deeper level,
Yeah.
the friendship.
Agreed.
So, yeah, that I'm super, super happy and grateful for.
Me too. And I think it's been I know the same here. I don't know that I knew what to expect. Um, but I think it's definitely deepened our relationship personally and professionally. I think it's all for me, it's taught me not just the mechanics, obviously, of how to do a podcast. Because I mean, like you were saying earlier, I mean, was it a few episodes ago, you didn't turn your mic on. The very first time we did this, I didn't turn the mic on.
Right, right.
So there were certain things it was like, "Okay, remember to do this, remember to do that."
Right, right.
And but I think it pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I continued to push myself in ways that, I remember the first time I listened to I think it was even just our trailer, I was cringing at my own voice. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, this is," "this is what I sound like." And that doesn't even faze me anymore,
Mm.
And I know I remember saying to you before we ever recorded, just in terms of our brainstorming, like, one of my goals was to if I said, "If we help one person, like, this has
Right,
been successful." And
right.
I think one of the coolest things that we have people from all around the world that
Mhm,
listen to us,
mhm.
and it amazes me that we have and I'm gonna assume that you and I have helped people by doing this, but it's people we've never met. We've never
Right,
had a conversation with, we've never laid
right.
eyes on, and I think it's a lot different. It's not we can't touch it, we're not sitting with
Mhm,
someone that says, "Wow, this was a great session, this was really helpful." We do get feedback from people, yes,
mhm,
and
mhm.
I appreciate that. Like, I value, I love the positive, but I do value the constructive criticism as well because I think that's what helps us to grow.
Absolutely.
And I think I was like the first time, I don't remember what country, but I think I said to you, I'm like, someone in Lithuania is listening to
Yeah.
us.
Right.
Like, how is this happening?
I know. I concur with everything that you're saying, and it kinda reminds me of, um, with my private practice, with my therapy practice and my hypnotherapy practice, um, trust me, I'm not saying I don't have days that are stressful,
Mhm,
but overall, I it is not lost on me that I'm like, "Wow, I get to do this for a living," where I'm, you know, sitting with people in their pain and their
mhm,
joy, everything in between, and I'm giving them presence, and we're developing trust, and there's real work happening, and on some level, I know our work is helping them, right? It it kind of now with the podcast, it just occurred to me that what you're saying about right, it's not like, there's listeners we have out there,
mhm,
that we have never met, never seen, and if they come back and they listen again, I'm going to also assume,
mhm.
right, that, something is drawing them back in,
Right.
and some aspect of our conversation, our expertise is helping them. It's kind of an extension, now that I'm thinking about it, about how I feel about my own private practice and the
Mm,
clients that I do know well, and that I am honored to somehow be a part of their growth and their expansion. So it is a really cool concept, right? That podcasting can allow you to kind of broaden your scope and reach more people than just those in your individual practice. And I
right.
I think I even remember in our very first episode we talked about that as one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. So,
Yes. Yeah. And I know I think I've shared this with you offline, but one of the other, things that I think has come out of this that I know I didn't expect, but I remember I've had clients say, I've sat like, for example, the episode we did on overwhelm, navigating overwhelm, and I have a client who literally has listened to that episode 5 times.
oh, I
And
love it.
when they get super anxious, they're like and I'll get an email or the next time I had to listen to it yesterday on my way to work,
Mm,
like, it really grounded me or it really helped me. And that was something I guess I never anticipated. For some reason, I was not thinking about my existing clients at all. Sorry, guys.
mm,
I was thinking no offense, but I was thinking broader brush, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, "Well, I meet with my clients, right? Like, they're getting what they need." But to and another client put it to me, she's like, "It's like getting therapy for free."
yeah,
And
yeah,
I thought, "Oh, I guess I hadn't thought of it from that perspective," which was kinda cool. It was nice that that was an adjunct for people already in therapy, whether with me or
right.
anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely, and I very similar to that. I've had a few different clients say to me, "It's like I'm getting an extra session
Mm,
with you." Um, and so right, that's pretty darn cool, right?
yeah.
That yeah.
So, anything else that is, like, burning as far as things that gratitude that you wanna put out there?
I mean, I could go on and on, about what I feel grateful for, but for the sake of time, if we're sticking to kinda like our professional lives in this
Mhm.
podcast, I hope I've conveyed to you, but also to our listeners just about what an amazing experience, really, honestly, that I think that it's been, and I am curious to see how this skill set may or may not continue to develop, in the future,
Yeah,
um, career-wise. So, yeah, just hope I conveyed all that well.
I think you did.
Okay. Well, you did too, Sarah.
Well, thank you. So, I'm thinking listeners are probably wondering what's next,
Mhm.
and, I wanted to if you're comfortable, Megan, I mean, do you wanna share with people what you're thinking of doing next? Like, what's on the agenda? Whether that's personally, professionally, whatever.
Sure, absolutely. It's funny because recently I had a friend ask me like, "Okay, so what are you gonna do with the extra time if you're not gonna do the podcast right now with Sarah? How are you going to use your time?" I'm like, yeah, I really need to give this some thought, and I think, Sarah, that you have probably laid out more specific plans than I do for 2026. But what I can say is that I, you know, I know I've mentioned several times in this podcast that not only am I a traditional mental health therapist, but I'm also certified in hypnotherapy. And for me, as I continue to just grow in my practice, I really align in so many different ways with this technique, with
Mhm,
practicing hypnotherapy with clients. And one of the things that I've found that I love to do is I love to create and hand tailor my scripts for clients when they come in with a specific issue. So all that is wonderful, but kind of in the same way that our podcast, we really wanted to like broaden the scope of who we could reach.
mhm,
Starting to think about how can I broaden my hypnotherapy practice kind of out there more in the world than I am now. And so one idea I do have is I think I want to put more time into creating scripts that you don't necessarily have to be a one-on-one hypnotherapy client with me to access.
mm,
I'm thinking about creating some generalized scripts and somehow putting them out there, um, whether it's on my website or maybe I have to have a separate site. I haven't gotten that far yet, but there are so many, hypnotherapy scripts I think that I could create that would
mhm,
speak to a lot of people. Um, Scripts around kinda how to transform, for example, your anxiety to one of a state of calm.
mm,
I would love to create one specifically on, kinda moving into peaceful sleep.
mhm,
I would love to create one on just this general idea of how to cultivate more self-kindness and self-compassion. Honestly, a lot of the topics I think that we've covered. Um, so that is one of my goals,
mhm,
for the future.
mhm,
And then one other idea I'm really kind of sitting with is maybe figuring out how to do some more group work.
mm,
And this would be online. And I'm thinking about possibly doing some group hypnosis sessions and maybe even some more traditional mental health, type topics if people are interested
mm,
in those as well. So yeah, so those are some of my ideas, and I guess the only other thing I'll add is that it's probably pretty clear. I definitely, I take my I have a very, kind of spiritual approach to my life, and I think through the years, I've been slowly but surely figuring out how to integrate my own spirituality with my current career path,
mm,
and it is in it's a pretty fluid process for me, and it's something that I'm still trying to figure out. But I also think that I would like to create some hypnosis scripts or maybe even some group sessions around these kind of like broad brush um spiritual topics that might really help people
Mhm.
when they are feeling bogged down in the world. So that's those are kind of my thoughts that are coming to me, at least right now in terms of what I, really wanna focus on in 2026.
I think there's some really important things in there. I love the idea of doing the group work, whether that's hypnotherapy or the more traditional mental health practice,
Mhm.
because I think that's something that, especially from the more traditional mental health side, I don't see a lot of that out there. Like, it
Yeah.
used to be 20 years ago, sure, there were
Mhm.
groups everywhere. I mean, and they were in person
Mhm.
and they were hard to get into, there'd be waiting lists. And that is a question I get from a lot of clients is,
Mm.
what's out there for support groups? And I often struggle to answer that question. So I
Mhm.
think it's great, and especially like the hypnotherapy, I know that a lot of people have huge success with hypnotherapy, and I love the fact that if you can tailor that, like even the topics that you bring up, I could tell you I could give you a handful of people that those are
Mhm.
they're struggling with or that they want, to be better at or more successful with.
Mm. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, it is exciting. And it's exciting to think about again that the broad brush goal, just like our podcast, was the broad brush goal was to reach more people. I think, even in this moment as we're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I I I think I want to put more time and energy into pathways that I could take
Mhm.
that would reach more people. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
So what about you, Sarah? Tell me what's on your docket.
Well, I'm in this really it's not weird, but it feels weird in the sense that I'm in this really creative phase, and I
Mm.
think it started really a year ago, right, with this podcast.
Mhm.
And I'm very grateful that I'm in a position where I can take advantage of that. And so a couple things happened. Well, one big thing happened this year. I wrote a book. Um, I called it Life Lessons of a Doberman Pinscher.
I
And
love that.
and it's basically it's what we do, right, with clients. Like it's all those life lessons in terms of patience and consistency and gratitude.
Mm.
But the reason I wrote it was because when Remington was going through his puppy stage, as I've mentioned tons of times here, I really had to remind myself of everything that I share with my clients. And it was so cathartic to write the book. And my same thinking was if one person reads this and they get a nugget from it,
Mhm.
like that is a success.
Mm.
So it goes it's already gone through the editor. It goes to the designer for the cover and the interior next week. So my
Okay.
goal is in 2026 to launch that book.
Mm.
So that's one. And much like you were saying, it's interesting because I actually don't necessarily consider myself a group person. And I think I don't
Mhm.
consider myself that because when I was interning, one of the things I had to do was run groups and I hated it. I
Mhm.
absolutely
Mhm.
hated it. But I think the difference here is that no one's telling me I have to do it. So I'm
Right.
happy to do it. So what I'm thinking of, and it's probably going to be another facet of the business. I've enrolled in a 90-day coaching program, and
Mhm.
this is going to help me launch my own courses, online courses, virtual courses.
Mhm.
And I don't want it to be strictly like, okay, here, I've outlined everything. You go and do it on your own. I want it to be interactive. I want to have calls with people.
Nice.
And the reason I hired someone is and this is how I explained it to them, like, "Hey, listen, I'm Gen X, right? Like, I'm old school. Yes, I went to business school. Yes, I know how to run a business. I am not strong in the social media things. Its marketing is very different now than how it used to be. Sure, I can learn it on my own, but why work harder when I can work smarter?
Right.
So
Right.
I think the next 3 months are going to be pretty intense.
Mhm.
Um, I and I don't know if this will stay this way, because who knows what could change just in terms of the development. But right now, I'm looking at launching probably an 11-week course, and it would be geared towards women between, say, 40 and 60,
Okay.
thinking about that is I hate the word midlife, but it is midlife, and so many things happen. People are empty nesters, or they're thinking of retirement, or they've gone through a divorce, or they're widowed, or they're going through menopause, or they're changing careers, whatever it is. So I've come up with a couple different titles, but that's probably gonna change, and I haven't nailed that down, but I'm thinking my subtitle is going to be "An 11-Week Blueprint for Emotional Resilience, Redefined Purpose, and Strategic Midlife Design."
Woof.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty powerful,
So,
Sarah.
well, and, here's my thinking. I I remember when I was 40 and someone told me I was midlife. And I got so mad at them. And
Mhm.
I'm like, "I
Mhm.
am not midlife." And they're like, "Sarah, how old do you think you're gonna live to?
Mhm.
Are you gonna be
Mhm.
150? 'Cause I don't think so."
Right. Right.
And and the reason why I was so upset was it's the term midlife made me it was the mindset where I thought, "Oh my gosh, half my life is over." As
Mhm.
opposed to looking at it like, I have, like, the whole next half ahead of me.
Right. Right.
And I know what I've gone through in, say, the last 10 years or so, and if I can help other women navigate this time in their lives with more ease and with
Mm.
more, um, confidence, I wanna be able to do that. So and the other thing I thought of, and this kind of came from my clients saying about this podcast, saying, "Well, I will sit and listen to your episode on this because it's really helped me." So then it made me think, do I do a podcast that supports the coursework?
Mm.
Is that an adjunct for people that if they're involved in the course, this is something that they get to access for free or as part of the work is here are some
Mhm.
topics. And I haven't flushed that out. I mean, that's just me thinking like I've enjoyed the podcasting with you. And I'm thinking, is this something that I want to continue and how would that look? I really don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, all that is so exciting, Sarah. And I also, just to back up, I want to really, I'm sure I've said this to you personally, but congratulate you on the book.
Oh,
That is
thank you.
huge, right? And I can only imagine how much time and effort and energy it took. Um, and I love your idea for the 11-week course. Um, and it is so needed, right? And I'm
Mhm.
also feeling very passionate about how do I want to step forward into this so-called second half of my life with not only like confidence, but like actual excitement
Yes.
rather than reservation or this idea that, well, I guess the good years are over. No, I don't, that is not the route I want to take. So anyway, I'm super excited for you and these endeavors. And I know that you will put your all into them. And it will be fun to watch, right, this process. So yeah, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of us,
I am
I'm
too.
proud of the podcast,
Yes.
and I also just wanna end by thanking all of our listeners that have stuck with us, um, and, you know, feel free, right, you can continue to reach out to us, I believe, for right,
Absolutely.
Sarah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's what I was gonna say the same thing. I mean, we couldn't have done it without you guys, listeners. We couldn't have done it. And I know that for me, just looking forward to putting each new episode out there and seeing how it's going to land has been really exciting. And if you do have things you wanna share with us, if you look on the show notes, there are emails there, you can leave comments. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to get in touch with us. If
Mhm.
we have exciting news to share,
Mhm.
I can one of us, we can record something and throw it out there, we can
Yep.
post something. So we're not going into a black hole.
Right. Right.
Um but I really, really appreciate listeners that you have allowed us into your space and that you have allowed us to take up some of your time and your attention. It's very
Mm.
important to us and it's meant a lot.
Well said, Sarah. Thanks again, everybody, and take very, very good care of yourselves.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Take care. If you want to share your thoughts or ideas with us, you can email us at therapyunpluggedpodcast@proton.me. Until next time, be sure to subscribe to Therapy Unplugged on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcasts.